Erev Tov, good evening, everyone. Erev Tov. We're going to start with a chapter of Tehillim. I'm going to read each pasuk, and you guys can repeat after me. Lam natseach mizmor leDavid, Ya'anecha Adonai beyom tzara, Yisagef Hashem Eloi Yaakov, Yishlach Ezrecha Mikodesh, Umitzion Yisadeka, Yizkor Kol Minchotecha, Veolatcha Yedash Nesela, Yiten Lecha Kilvavecha, Vechol Atzatecha Yemale, Neran Ena Bishuatecha, Ubeshem Eloheinu Nidgol, Yemale Adonai Kol Mishalotecha, Ata Yadati, Ki Hoshia Adonai Meshicho, Yaneu Mishmekocho, Bigvurot Yesha Yemino, Ele Barechev Ele Basusim, Vanachnu Beshem Adonai Eloheinu Naskir, Hema Karu Venafalu, Vanachnu Kamnu Venitodad, Adonai Yoshia, Hamelech Yanenu, Beyom Korenu. Dear friends, this is a very special moment tonight. We are all here together as a community, and I just want to thank everyone for coming. Thank my wife Sterna for taking the initiative to organize this event. We're going to have 3 different speakers, starting with Harry Bolner, that I want to thank you personally for being here. And the 2 other speakers are, I guess, Mrs. Toledano, okay, that is going to share with us some empowering words. And Rabbi Moshe from Chabad MTC that is I guess on the way to share with us some words of the Torah and inspire us how we should react, what lesson, not really lesson, but how we should live those times as a person, as a human, and as a Jew. I just want to start with, we say, Potchim Bidvar Torah. We always start, we try to connect the event with the Torah, which is the parasha of the week. So last week, we read the parasha Bereshit. And today, it's Sunday, so we're starting parashat Noach. So if I read the 3rd verse of the parashat Noach, Vatishachet haaretz lifnei haElokim, and the world that was at the time of Noach become I don't know how to translate Tishachet. Corrupt. Vatimale haaretz Hamas. This is the words of the Torah. The world was full of Hamas, which means in Hebrew means violence, evil. And then the continuation of the parasha is talking about the Tevat Noach, the ark of Noach. And there is an obvious question in this parasha. So obviously, it's as we see, right away we see the connection with it's today parasha, today Chumash, with what we're living today. And one huge lesson we just can take from the word, from the name of the parasha, which is Noach. Noach in Hebrew means relaxation, means like a spa or something like the opposite of what the parasha is talking. It's talking about like Mabul and the world is destroying. But the whole parasha, the name is Noach. And welcome Rabbi New. Please write for the Rabbi New from DC.
You can come in the front.
It's a big honor to have you, Rabbi Nu, for the second time in the Chabad here.
You can sit here with your
Thank you. So the name of the parasha, which is Noach, means that even if sometimes in our eyes we see things that looks like a big mabul, big destruction, but somehow for Hashem, we don't understand, but there is a plan. And even if it's really opposite of what we see, but the name of the whole parasha is Noach, which is somehow, it's all a plan of Hashem. So obviously we're not here to say it's Noach, it's good, because even in the parasha, the big destruction of the Mabul, all the human beings were died, and only Noach stayed alive. But we understand that this is our perspective, and somehow Hashem has a different perspective, and everything goes according to His will. We're going to start the event with a little video of the Rebbe, 4 minutes. And before we start this video, I just want to say that the next day after Simchat Torah, after the holiday, after this what happened in Israel, I went to the school, and I met people over there, and one of the people told me, how was Simchat Torah in Brossard? It's someone that always wants to know what's happening in Brossard. Everyone is curious to know what's going on in the South Shore. And I told her, I said, we danced like we never danced before. And I don't know if you guys was here in Simchat Torah. And she said, no, that's not right, that's wrong, that's not. She was very shocked. And for me, in my eyes, we heard what happened in Israel. Obviously, at that time, we didn't really understand the extent, the gravity or whatever of this. But we did understand that something very bad was happening. But we know that Simchat Torah, it's the halacha, the law is that we have to dance with the Torah. And if Hashem wants us to dance, we got to dance, and this year was a big dance. So that's the way we reacted right on the spot. And later on, I saw a video of the Rebbe that I'm going to show you tonight. The Rebbe speaks just after Yom Kippur War, so 50 years ago. And in the video, he's going to talk about Tachanun. I just got to explain what Tachanun is for people that don't know. Tachanun is a part of the prayer that we say in regular days. When it's a holiday, we don't say Tachanun. The fact is that from Yom Kippur until actually tomorrow, we don't say Tachanun. Tonight is still Rosh Chodesh, so we don't say Tachanun. And the Rebbe is going to explain what's the meaning of the living days that we don't say Tachanun, how we have to react on those days. Video, Roger? Boom, boom, tac, tac. Boom, thank you.
Die Daten der Chorma Hasbora, wie Kassidor Alot, wo jeden schlagen sich. Was ist das Ahin von der Isradus? Jeder Linie darf der Chorma, die mit Überkam auf Form im Anarchise in Nigwe, bis in Adine Nigwe, ist die Finster der Jema Hivorische Wei, ist auch in die Tag, was wie der alte Herr beschreibt in Sider, afun Herr Jema Kippuri. In dem ganzen Chedesh, in der Tor der Amiras von Tachnun, in der Nefilas Apayin, v'chulu. Was ist der Ziel, was die Unionen, was tun sie Chuf, alle die Amiras Tachnun. Darfen sich Ufton in die Tag Echet, in der Form verstandig, das, was in Asman Achet, darf man das Ufton, durch Tachnun, Nefilas Apayin, v'chulu, und das Disgule von die Tag, das tut Chuf, Dafke alle die Haschlile von Amiras Tachnun und Haschlile von der Philosophie und Chuf mit den Broten, Ich habe davon verstanden, als ich unter die Hero, auf 100 Jema Kippuri, als sie verheilt, sagt man nicht in Tachnun, in das Hero, was sie verstanden, für Anoschen, und wie bald sie wissen doch, hat Tachnun ist echt die Pschute, was mir darf ich beten, und das tut mir das nicht, ist das sie in einem Bett, die alle Unionen mit Dafke durch Schliles hat Tachnun, wo das ist der Chassimin von Alinin Schossimcha. Wo das ist der Chechet verbunden mit Teres Abal Shemte. Und wo sie Revolution Batitschere schreibt, dass das oft gesagt und gehasert und gerät zum Leben, aber das, was sagt, Hawaii Zilcha, in der Obtatschen der Madereibestellung ist wie Erzähl von Alin. Und Punkt, dass sie Erzähl macht dieselbe Bewegungen, wie sie macht der Mensch, was von ihm wird ihnen erzählt, oder sie ist Hawaii Zilcha, und wie Alin fühlt sich Lemato, ist unter sie der Rebeste tut das als Punkt, wie Bedugme, wie Erzähl. Ich sagte sich in sehr in Tzav auf Tocha Zias Kigavna, wie Ayid, Bavai sein Ponim Lemailo, ist Eber Bavai Ponim Shel Chedro, oder sie Bavai Smen Ven Chedro Milmailo. Und dort meilig mit Kamel Protein Bedor. Was mit dadurch, die alle Unionen, ist der Verstande, aber das, was mir kann helfen, die Jungen im Ego, kommen das Lufton und in der Leben von Simcha, was Simcha Pelitz Gede. Die Helgel im Mokim, Gashmi, Vechulu, mit der alle Protein, als es soll herabkommen, beten, Mela Chaim, und Chaim Kipschuta. Mit alle Unionen, was sie kommt zusammen mit Chaim, was die Kloros werden sie umgerufen, mit Sehne, soll das herabkommen, Lemata, Masor, Bechol Echad, Vachas, mit Nei Israel. Wo nur sie definieren sagt, durch den, was jeden kleiden sich zusammen, bewogen Mechad in Kabel Hoela. Und a kol de Asore schinte Shari, Alachas Kame, Vekamo, Kama Siri. Alachas Kame, Vekama, mi verbindt das mit Ayinische, mit Shalteiro, und als Ayisedere, Shalgive Shamay.
Okay, so as you saw, the Rebbe talking just after Yom Kippur War, saying that us being joyful, that will bring the joy from Hashem, and Hashem is mirroring our way of acting. So now I want to invite my dear wife Sterna to introduce a little bit something. On the event, she's the one to initiate this whole event, and I want to thank you for organizing all this in just a few days. Sterna.
Hi everyone. So the reason why I organized this event is because this Monday I got a call from a mother who told me she just picked up her daughter from school because she was harassed as soon as she came to school by school peers that were telling her what side are you on, and she didn't know what to answer. And she called me because she didn't know what to do. And when I heard this, I didn't know what to do. I'm trained to teach, kids. I have a Sunday school. I host people. We do events, but I'm not trained to tell people how to deal with bullying or anti-Semitism or how to deal with Israel and all that. So I realized that yes, I need people to help me as a parent, as a leader, as a person, as a human being, know how to react in this situation, how to be confident and empowered to know what to say. So this is why tonight happened. The first person I called was Harry, who is a former officer. He fought the Six-Day War and the Yom Kippur War, and what he said really boosted me. He said, I want to bring up people's moral. So thank you, Harry, for that. And then I reached out to Dr. Rachel, who right away said, didn't even ask any questions, said she's going to come. And my husband reached out to Rabbi New, who also, these are very busy people. Rabbi New and Dr. Rachel live on the other side of the bridge, and they crossed over and they came. So we really, really appreciate, and we're looking forward to hear your encouraging, empowering words tonight. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you. I call upon my dear friend, Harry Bolner. He was actually invited in Israel for the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. Very special man. And please, Harry.
Thank you, Rabbi Samama and Sterna, who I'd like to call her an Eshet Chayil. All the work she does, fantastic work, this whole community has been doing with the leadership of Rabbi Samama. Just put this in a second here. And I thank you all for coming. Of course, I got friends here, fellow people from the South Shore, even people from Montreal. I will have a lot to cover, but I don't have much time, so I'll try to stick to the essentials. I'll start with an overview. How did we ever get to this thing called Hamas? And you cannot go to Hamas without looking at Palestine. So I'll go quickly over a few items. In 1947, the UN proposed a partition of Palestine on the 29th of November. We agreed, the Jews agreed, the Palestinians refused, and the next day Arab armies attacked Israel, that they finished in 1948 with an armistice, having lost that battle, and new borders were drawn. Gaza fell into Egyptian hands. They occupied it, and Jordan occupied the west side of the Jordan, West Bank, which we call Samaria and Judea. In 1951, it doesn't take long after 1948 that we had infiltrators, armed infiltrators from Gaza, called in those days Sedain, which crossed into Israel and already started attacking Israeli farmers around Gaza. We didn't have many settlements then, but even those few settlements, they harassed them, there were attacks, and they even stole pipes and all kind of stuff, and animals. The 67 war changed everything. Gaza and the Sinai, which was Egypt, fell to Israel's hands. They attacked us. They attacked us by massing 100,000 troops on the border. We had no choice but to do a preemptive strike. Same thing with Jordan, and same thing with Syria. And you know how the war ended, and I'll focus just on the Gaza part. Gaza became Israeli as well as the Sinai. In 1967, the same year, there was a conference in Khartoum, Sudan, of the Arab League, and the PLO, Palestine Liberation Organization, was formed. And they had three no's. No peace with Israel, no negotiation with Israel, and no recognition of Israel. The Yom Kippur War happened in 73, 50 years ago, but it did not affect Gaza, so to speak. It was still in Israeli hands. But in 1987, Hamas was founded in Gaza. Hamas, it's an Islamic resistance movement, a Sunni Islamist, political and militant organization. And it's covered, they're also available people in the Palestinian territories of the West Bank and in Gaza. And as today, I didn't know there's Hamas in Lebanon. We found out there's Hamas in Lebanon too. In 1993, Arafat, which represented the PLO, did the Oslo Accords, creation of the Palestinian Authority, P8 we call it. And in 2005, Hamas won elections in 2005 in Gaza, not in the West Bank. and they split from Fatah, which is the other group of the PLO under Mahmoud Abbas and Arafat, and they split from them. And this split is up to this date, and they have not had elections since. Sharon, our General Arik Sharon, who was Prime Minister, decided to conduct a disengagement from Gaza. It was too expensive for Israel to manage it. So they said, let's get out of here. And they pulled out Yeshuvim, they pulled out settlements that we built there with all kind of greenhouses and agriculture, with the latest state-of-the-art Israeli work in there. And we pulled out of Gaza, which was a terrible thing for the settlers. They really were hurt by having been yanked from all the work that they've done. And then the Arabs in Gaza, Hamas, took it over, and they plowed it all. They destroyed the greenhouses, all the things that we've done to develop Gaza, they destroyed. And they decided to be poor rather than have success. Since then, we left Gaza in 2005. In 2006, they kidnapped Gilad Shalit, a soldier. They just picked a soldier. We didn't have a big fence. We didn't have a big wall. They kidnapped a soldier from a patrol there. And Israel responded, not liking it, that they kidnapped one of our people. They just signed a deal with us that we have a ceasefire and so on. They sent 1,300 rockets, and Israel had to invade Gaza to kind of try to liberate Gilad Shalit, and they did not succeed, and he stayed in Gaza for many years until he was replaced by 1,000 terrorists from Israeli jail. One soldier, that's how we value our people. One soldier was equal to 1,000 terrorists in our jails.
Including the perpetrator of the Sparrow bombing.
Sorry?
Including the perpetrator of the Sparrow bombing.
Yes. And 2007, there were Qassam rocket strikes. 2008, there was a Gaza war called Qasled. Last Qasled. 3 weeks it took with invasion of Gaza. 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2014, I can go on to 2023. And every time they got stronger with more rockets, and we never wanted to go into Gaza because we knew it might cost us a lot, soldiers, more lives, to try and dislodge them from there. And Hamas was in power, and they were quarreling with Fatah, and they didn't help Fatah either, because they dragged their bodies through the streets and throw them from balconies and from rooftops, any opposition that they had from Fatah. So who is Hamas? Hamas is ideologically related to the Muslim Brotherhood. It's influenced partly by the Wahhabism from Saudi Arabia. When workers went from Egypt to work in Saudi Arabia, and they came back with this new religious twist that they had. There's also another organization we don't talk this week. It's called Islamic Jihad. And there's also the Popular Front to the Liberation of Palestine, the PFLP, formerly founded by George Habash, who remembers him. They, like all Palestinians, are connected to the big disaster that happened in their world, in their life, in their meaning, and that is the Nakba. The Nakba is a disaster. The disaster, they lost the land of Palestine to the Jews. Not mentioning that they started a war with us and they lost it. But that is still in their mind 75 years after. Their education of Hamas is a hatred of Jews and Israelis. That's the basis of their education. They have a Shahid, a martyr ideology, which says, Jews love life, we love death. That will explain a lot of things for you. There's a deep frustration, normal, for the lockdown by Israel and Egypt. The press talks about lockdown by Israel, but there is also Egypt, is a border that's a brotherly Arab country. They have a border with them, and they complain that Israel locks them down when Egypt locks them down too. There is more traffic to Israel than they have going with Egypt. We supply the goods into Gaza from Israel, okay? We supply building supplies, food, water, electricity, fuel, medicine, work permits, they come to work in Israel, advanced medical care in Israeli hospitals. I don't think Egypt does that. But they cannot travel freely out of the Gaza Strip, and that's a frustration for them. Strangely enough, since 1967, the main currency is the Israeli shekel. There's no Palestinian currency, there's no Palestinian state, so to speak, or Bank of Palestine, so to speak. And they have this deep ideological split with Fatah under Mahmoud Abbas or Abu Mazen, which is in the West Bank. So these two parties don't get well with each other, don't get well at all. In fact, they had a civil war between them. Now, I'd like to make some distinctions. Do not confuse Palestinians with Hamas or Islamic Jihad. All Palestinians are not Hamas or Islamic Jihad. Not all Palestinians are terrorists. I grew up in Jaffa, in an Arab part of Israel. Jaffa in the Arab part of town, in the Muslim part of town. They lead normal lives, they admire us, but they don't necessarily like us. We have Israeli Arabs who are originally Palestinians. They're frustrated. 20% of Israel is Palestinians, or Israeli Arabs, or Palestinian Israeli, or Israeli Palestinians. They themselves are not sure how to call themselves. We also have Druze in our country who are not Arabs. In fact, they're allies of Israel. They go to the army. We have Christians too. Not all Palestinians are Muslim, of course. Another thing to mention in these times is beware of fake news. There's a lot of fake news running around. Stick to the major channels of news that are verified. Don't get any kind of weird stories from the internet. It's not good. Facebook, if you know a friend that is reliable, that's okay, but otherwise, you get some fantastic stories there, it's not true. Watch out. Stick to the main channels of TV that you know, or radio, or newspapers. The Gaza attack, October 7th, that is our Shoah of our days. It was a surprise attack. I will not talk about it because all the media has been talking about it the whole week. It was horrible. It was pogrom and barbarity, like not seen since 1944-45. 1,300 were murdered. We lost about 500 soldiers. We got missing people, and we have also kidnapped people, and many missing could be dead too, in Gaza probably, because we looked all over Israel. They kidnapped civilians of all ages, from old to babies, and they did terrible things to them. They even stole from homes, and I saw a video of some Gazans, not necessarily Hamas, they took the occasion and took a whole herd of cows over into Gaza from the kibbutzim, which is strange to look at. Their objective is pure terror, to terrify us, to get the attention of the world to the poor Palestinian plight. What is Israel's response to Gaza? First is to clean up of the terrorists left in Israel. We have to find every single one of them and send him to his heaven, whatever that means. We instituted a blockade of Gaza. It's a blockade of cutting water, electricity, food, and so on supplies. Nothing comes in, nothing goes out. Egypt is doing the same thing, don't forget. They even do more than we do. The Gaza war objective, and now I'm talking now what's going on right now, today even, is that Gaza has to be purified, cleansed without Hamas, militarily, financially, or politically. This afternoon, the Israeli cabinet defined targets. The Mimshelet Cherem, the emergency cabinet, defined these new targets. to eliminate terrorists and commandos, tunnels, ammunition depots, rocket infrastructure, finances, institutions of government, officers and leaders. All has to be out. This is as of this afternoon. We know we have to enter Gaza to do it. It has to be done. There are I don't know how many dozens of kilometers of tunnels inside Gaza. We know the dangers and challenges facing us, but they have to be done. We have to attempt at least to retrieve all hostages and bodies in Gaza. We must attempt to find the hostages. Dead or alive, we must find those hostages and bring them back. We have to minimize civilian collateral casualties and damage. But we try by moving the population of northern Gaza, the city and the north, to the south across the Gaza Valley. But not everybody wants to move. Some people are afraid to lose their homes, but the army needs that, otherwise we will be blamed again for civilian losses. So this is a challenge to move the civilians out of the way so we can get to the militants, or the terrorists rather, not the militants like the BBC calls them. In the end, the objective is, when we finish all that, to have a total disengagement to enable a new Palestinian political solution in Gaza, which we are not part of it, and a new administration and a security with guarantees to Israel. And hopefully that others will reconstruct Gaza. About Israel and the Jews. The Jews and the people of Israel have survived many enemies and empires that tried to crush us. There were biblical enemies like the Hittites, Hittim, Egyptians, Canaanites, Philistines, Amalek, Edomites, Jebusites, Moabites, Assyrian, I didn't say all of them, Greeks, Romans, Crusaders, Arabs, and lately German. I have a person I met, a Chinese professor of Jewish history, and he's in a country of 1.4 billion people, and he says, I don't understand. You guys are such a small people. How could you vanquish so many empires over so many thousands of years? We are a country of billions, and we would like to be like you. But how did you do it with so few people? He couldn't understand that. We know. It's our faith. Israel today has the most technological and best motivated soldiers and is the only democratic country in the region with a moral fighting code. This we will not give up on. Although we were caught in a bad surprise attack, we will win this war, like we did all others. We always do. We'll always do. It starts bad, but we'll finish it. That was Yom Kippur War too. Hamas and Islamic Jihad will pay a huge price, their entire destruction. However, I'd like to mention, there's one thing we cannot destroy, is the Hamas ideology. Even though we might destroy all Hamas, their ideology might still stay around, okay? Not only in Gaza, somewhere else, it's an ideology. Like ISIS, it's an ideology of a fancy Islamic state, but we'll see how it goes. Please be aware in your daily lives. Play it safe. Do not live in fear. World Jewry cannot exist without Israel. Israel cannot exist without world Jewry. We are one, and together we will win. Am Yisrael Chai.
Well, thank you very much, Harry Bolner, for this general background and the words of empowering words. Thank you, thank you. I want to call upon now Rabbi Moshe from Chabad NTC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi. I have a simple question. There is virtually not a state in the world, a country in the world, including Canada, United States, Australia, where I come from, whose state is not founded by conquering those who were there previously. And that's international law, friends. Territory that is achieved through conquest becomes the possession of the conqueror. If this weren't so, friends, then we should kindly please get up and go back to wherever this country belongs to, the North American Indian, who was vanquished and conquered. So with all of the apologetics, and we acknowledge them in our words, not even that often, the reality is, no, this is our country, this is Canada. Really. They have a different name for it. But that's international law, friends. So what doesn't apply to us? We conquered it. We paid for it with blood. Just like you did in your country. Isn't it strange? You made reference in your wonderful presentation to the ideology, Hamas ideology. I'll talk in broader terms for a moment. One cannot defeat one's enemy if one doesn't understand them. And often understanding the enemy is the key to understanding ourselves. What is it about us that irks them so? Kind of a mirror. Here's a question that every thinking Muslim has to ask. Friends, you need to appreciate that Islam is rooted in the Torah. Muhammad saw himself, or at least he's seen by others, as being the true prophet of God that follows Jesus, that followed Moses. That's all rooted, by their own admission, in our Torah, which is why, as you may know, Christian missionaries go to great lengths to prove that Jesus was prophesied in our Torah, because if he wasn't, the whole religion has no basis whatsoever. Nothing. Same is true of Islam. Islam is rooted in the Torah, and he sees himself as the continuation of Christianity and the only true prophet of God that all must believe in or die. Question. The good Bible says that Israel belongs to the Jews. Abraham had two sons, Ishmael and Isaac, and it's very clear in Scripture, which they believe in as the Word of God, friends, that Israel is given to the Jews. So how do they explain? Justify their resistance? Would you like to hear their answer? Their answer is, we have abrogated the covenant. So we're not keeping the laws of God. Now it goes to the older brother, Ishmael. Friends, I just listened to an interview. It doesn't say his name, but it's on Al Jazeera and Memory, if you watch Memory, it's a watchdog for the Arab media. You've got to watch this, friends. This gentleman sits there in a suit and a tie. He looks like your favorite uncle. Here's some salient quotes. This is this week. He said, let them bomb Gaza. That's okay. Look at Germany. Reduced to rubble within years, became one of the 5 superpowers of the world. The money will come in, they'll rebuild us. Besides, there's so many of us hidden in underground tunnels. And then he said, as you quoted earlier, the Jews are afraid of death. We're not. Every Arab mother hopes to have 6 boys so that 3 at least can be martyrs. An Arab father holds his child on his shoulder, and you've seen these pictures, friends, he's not making this up. Green and black ribbon across his forehead that says, I hope to be a martyr. He said, the people that are afraid of death can't defeat those that are not. The Jew, he says, has no ideology. You know what's the biggest proof? Because they surrendered to us what's most holy to them. That's the biggest proof that the Jews don't believe in this. This isn't really their home. You all have dual citizenships. He says, just go back to London, New York, Paris, Montreal. You don't belong here. Your behavior tells us you don't belong here. You give up that which is most sacred. So we think we're making this great sacrifice, and that will achieve peace, and that's perceived as not just weakness, much more than weakness, friends. It's perceived as you don't really believe you belong here, or it's yours. So what I'm telling you, friends, that this isn't the base of 5 minutes. This requires many hours of discussion and lecture. But I'm trying to convey this. The root of this battle is a spiritual one. It's a spiritual one. I must add one more gem that he said. The interviewer, she says that the thousands, loss of life in Gaza. She's an Arab interviewer. She says, how many? She says, I know, it's a lot. He says, it's not even 2,000. I wish I would be killed, he said, in the next bombing. We're afraid of death. We believe in the hereafter. And again, if he didn't say it, you wouldn't have to believe. But he said, it's happy that Israel is raising Gaza to the ground. We'll build it bigger and better. Architecturally, more aesthetically, engineering. The money of the world will pour the money in. So, this has to be defeated. There's only one way, friends. At the core, spiritually, we need an army to back that up. The strongest army, the best well-trained in the world, and the most moral. But it has to be fueled. The Arabs need to respect us. They would like to, actually. They need to. All to say, the core of this, it's a spiritual, ideological battle. And it's so crazy because the truth of the matter is that Jerusalem doesn't figure once in the entire Bible, the entire Quran, this whole, I'm not going to go into this now. It's so tenuous. Many Arabs don't even believe that it's a holy site for Arabs. Yes, it's become this flashpoint. I'll put it to you this way. Israel is like no other country. It has a soul, a tremendous energy, sanctity, meaning, passion, holiness. Someone's got to seize it. If we don't, they will. If we reclaim it, we deflate them. Deflate. This sounds somewhat metaphysical, I know, and it needs more time to explain. But let's get to the bottom line. We're appreciating this much. This is an ideological, spiritual battle. I started off asking, hey, we conquered this. Isn't that enough? Case over. Goodbye. No, it's not. Because they recognize that the Jew's connection to Israel is even when he's not there. Even when he's not there, you've claimed it's yours. What kind of claim is that? It's a spiritual one. And that's the whole battle. All to say, We will win. No doubt. No doubt. And Israel must have the courage to go till the end. You see, friends, if a war is not won completely, and I won't go into what happened in 73 and 67, and we stop short, then the Arab says, in the end we won, and that just fuels the next war. It has to be complete and decisive. We haven't done it yet. I hope this time we will. But that's a military issue. It's a military issue that's got to be decisive till the end. At the same time, are really the foundation of it all. And we're seeing this today in Israel. Let me just tell you, the foundation is what you and I need to do. We are all one and responsible for each other. Here's the thing. The mitzvahs, the spirituality, the connection to God that you bring into your life, tefillin every day, Shabbat candles, mezuzah kosher, each one step, but each step is huge, strengthens all of us collectively. We are one great spiritual body. Strengthen one limb, the whole body is strengthened. We can and must help. And it's first and foremost spiritually, because that's really the core of the struggle. Every mitzvah counts. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it now in Israel. I have friends that were speaking. There's an awakening now. There's a unity we have never seen before. Religious, not religious. Someone recorded this. A woman in Israel calls, I think it's a Chabad rabbi. The recording picks up the conversation. She's never lit Shabbat candles in her life. She doesn't know how or the prayer. Could you please help me? And he says, of course. He's very emotional. He texts me your address and I'll come to the house. I'll bring you. Soldiers are lining up to put on tefillin. Tzitzit. 20, 30, 50,000, I don't know how many pairs have been distributed to the soldiers. There's a spiritual awakening and unity that's unprecedented. Dear God, this should not stop. It should just accelerate. And we are all part of it. We are all part of the great awakening. The simple question, why Israel? It's just a simple question. This guy was saying on the interview, our objective is to make life so miserable for you that you just go home. His home is Poland or New York or Montreal. Just go. You all have connections and money. What do you need this for? That's what they're trying to do. Demoralize us to the point of saying, is this worth it all? And the question is, why is it worth it all? Indeed. Why? Piece of land. Because one day there's security issues. Look, there was a proposal for Uganda to be the homeland of the Jewish people. There's places in the world we could find and develop. Don't leave Israel to them. We're geniuses. We'll go to the Antarctica and we'll develop the Antarctica. We can do it. Why remain there? Why? What are we living and dying for? There's only one answer at the end of the day. If you believe that this is our divine mandate that God gave, and that's integral to our mission, to be a light unto the nations. That's where it all starts. So let's say it. Let's not be embarrassed with that. Why Israel? Why Jewish? That's how the Creator ordained it. That'll be respected. I've seen it. Respected. Because it's the truth. So, end of the day, friends. Beginning of the day, end of the day. You and I, what do we have to do? We have to live deeper as Jews. We all are equally Jewish. That you can add or subtract to. I'm not saying become more Jewish. No such thing. You are, you're not. Express our Jewishness. That's what I'm saying. Another mitzvah. To be an example to our non-Jewish neighbors. Inspire them to live godly, moral lives. That's what chosen people means. Some people are very uncomfortable with the notion of the chosen people because they assume chosen means God chose us and rejected others. What nonsense. Every person is made in the image of God. Adam and Eve, the founders of all humanity equally. So what has chosen me? Chosen to be responsible, to be an example, to be a light unto the nations, by being faithful Jews and an example to live moral, godly, giving lives of goodness and kindness. The world is waiting. The world is obsessed with the Jewish people. Obsessed? We're a tiny little, there's a billion Chinese, like, leave us alone, little piece of land. We're on the front page. What is this obsession? With the answer, with the solution, they're not sure what to do with us, but because the world senses in a deep way, subconsciously, that their destiny is bound up with a Jew. And it is. Because we're the light unto the nations. We have a message for humanity. And I'm going to say what it is right now in the space of 2 minutes or less. The Arab who believes killing Jews, slaughtering children will earn him heaven. Who taught you about heaven? You know who taught the world about heaven? Us. Heaven, purgatory, spiritual world. This is a Jewish idea. Now we just have to fine-tune it. Listen, friend. There is a heaven. But the ultimate objective is heaven on earth. It's to live a heavenly life here. To imbue our body and nature and our everyday life with sanctity. That's the objective. You heard us like only, you read the first paragraph and you ran with it. We've got more to tell you. We've got more to tell you. There is a heaven and there is a hell. That's true. But again, the ultimate objective is the Messianic era, heaven on earth. Physical body is sacred. We're not afraid of death. Not at all. So why does Judaism tout the virtue of life, physical life? Because that's the objective. To bring godliness here. For that you need a healthy body in the world. That's why. So if God forbid someone is ill in Shabbos, we'll run to the hospital, do what needs to be done so that this person can be healthy and do mitzvahs thereafter and keep another Shabbos and bring holiness to the world. No, we're not afraid of death. It's just that heaven's not the ultimate address. It's here. This is the purpose. This is our message. Living godly lives in this world. Imbuing this world with sanctity and meaning. And we're all that ambassador of light. So dear friends, victory is assured, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. We pray to God that it happens swiftly, that our captives, hostages be returned safely and healed. Each one of our prayers makes a difference. Every mitzvah we undertake makes a difference. We strengthen each other. We are all one. And from this great darkness, we will see the greatest light. The greatest light. The greatest light in the Messianic era, a world of peace and harmony, where every human being is valued equally, infinitely, as made in the image of God. Heaven on earth. May we merit that without delay. Amen.
Amen.
I have to go. Yeah. I apologize for leaving now, but I need to.
Thank you very much, Romano, for putting those ideas so clearly. Make it simple for us. Thank you very, very much. I call upon Messiah Tova back to Montreal. I call upon Dr. Rachel Toledano. Thank you very much for accepting this big mission. And yes, please, Rachel Toledano. Thank you.
Thank you. the stender? Do you want to move the stender? Do you want to move it? Is that...
Hi everyone. I can't believe I have to go after Rabbi Yu. That is not fair. Well, okay, so I mean, honestly, if you still feel anxious after what Rabbi Yu said, I think that is, look, I'm a psychologist. I'm a clinical psychologist. I've been called here to talk about how to manage our anxiety, how to help our children manage not only the anxiety of things they might see or hear, but also maybe of being targeted at school as a Jew or bullied. And this morning I was at Chabad of UDM, and it's funny because I used so much of what Rabbi Nu spoke about to give people strength and empowerment. So now I don't know what to say, honestly. No, that's not true. I know what to say. But I do think you have to hold on. I'm not talking to you, you know, I was telling Sterna that I work a lot in the field of mental health for employees in the workplace. And of course, I work with people with anxiety disorders, depression, OCD, trauma, grief. And when I do that type of work, of course I use science as a psychologist, or studies what has been shown to work. But speaking to you here in this context as Jewish people is very different for me, because part of what we can gain strength from is so different than when I'm talking to just the general population, because I know us, right? So, because Rabbi Nu covered a lot of what I speak about generally when I speak directly with Jewish people, I'm going to talk more about how to preserve yourselves. We're living in a time when we're being bombarded, so we didn't even have time to process what happened 9 days ago. Honestly, we didn't even have time to really cry and mourn that we're already dealing now with something different, which is anti-Semitic acts here, right? And we went from one to the next, and we're overwhelmed emotionally. And not only are we dealing with what happened 9 days ago, which everybody knows what that is, I'm not going to describe, to now being bombarded on social media, in the news, with all the anti-Semitic, displays everywhere, to also, the fear of what's going on in Israel. And is this a third world war? So, I think we've got it all to be anxious, and to be stressed and to be afraid. And I want to kind of just normalize that from a human perspective. Okay, so we talked about the spiritual perspective, but we're still humans. And I think that everything has come together to create the ultimate level of stress and anxiety. This is worse than COVID. I treated so many people during COVID for anxiety. This is like times, a million, the level of anxiety that we could be feeling. Even me. I'm a psychologist. I've cried. Yesterday night I had my first nightmare in 9 days with terrorists coming to attack us. I've had anxiety. It's normal. Who wouldn't be anxious right now? People's lives are in great danger. We see that armies are coming in to help us. Not the armies themselves, but they're sending in the U.S., the U.K. They're sending in, naval artillery. It's scary. So the first thing I can say is hang on to your faith. Hang on to your faith in God, and hang on to the words of Rabbi Nu. That's the first thing I want to say, because that's our biggest source of resilience as a Jewish people. Okay? There's nothing above that. But I'll talk about also preserving yourselves from a physical standpoint. So how much am I exposing myself to the news is the first one. Guilty. I've been obsessively watching the news till 3, 4 in the morning. Okay, so I'm not higher, better, or I'm human too. But I think Shabbat kind of helped me to break that by saying, okay, well, we can watch the news, but now we have to turn it off. We have to put down the phones. We have to give ourselves a break. And I realized that there was no light in my house all week. It's like all the lights were on, but the house was dark. And as soon as I prepared to turn on the Shabbat candles, and I always turn on all the lights on the first floor for Shabbat, and as soon as I was preparing to turn on the lights, I felt like the house was lit up. Like the lights came back. Just from turning off the phone, turning off the news, turning off needing to help people who are stressed and anxious and afraid. I just took a break. And it just gave me the opportunity to sleep well for the first time all week. I didn't go to the gym all week. I'm a big fan of spinning classes. My spinning class is with Yaron. He puts on very, very good music. He puts on Israeli music. That's my time of the week for me, where I take care of my body and my mind, and I take, the opportunity to take a break, to recharge my energy. And I couldn't go this week. I couldn't hear music this week. And so now I'm at a point where I'm saying, okay, I have to go back. Those are things that helped me. I didn't eat well all week. I couldn't eat. Even tonight, I was telling my husband, I'm nauseous. I have trouble eating. But those are the things that create a buffer, that give us strength to continue in these times. I've seen a lot of friends. I've been to a lot of these gatherings. A week ago today, I was at Federation CJ. They did a gathering. I wouldn't call it a rally. They did a gathering, and they said, a lot of people criticized, in Paris and in Toronto and everywhere, they rallied for Israel. How come we haven't rallied yet? Well, we were in the holidays, and they didn't have time to prepare a rally, but they took the time to prepare a space like this one, where we can come together as Jewish people and mourn. So that was what that gathering last Sunday was. It was to mourn, and it was to come together and feel the togetherness, the unity of our people, and to cry together. And we did prayers, and we had rabbis come in and give us strength, right? So you have to look at, first and foremost, what's my day like? Guilty as charged. The second I wake up, even at 5 in the morning, did something happen in Israel? Where are things at? I know it's not good for me. So now we have to come to a place where it's been 9 days that we're like this, and we have to start to choose consciously to change our mode, because we know we're in this for the long run. So if we're not going to break down psychologically and emotionally, we need to protect ourselves. Make sure to turn off the TV, or at least the news, way before bedtime, at least 2-3 hours. Make sure to eat well, and turn off the phone while you're eating, because we sometimes take lunch and we're looking at the phone and we're looking at what's going on. Turn off the phone, go out for a walk, connect with nature, connect with friends, spend time with family. Those are all elements of resilience, other than our faith, of course. I'm going to say that again, because that's where we get our biggest resilience. But make conscious choices. And if you're worried about your kids, you have to do the same for them. Our kids are getting our energy. So we are their role models. As a community and as adults, we're the role models. Where our kids are looking. If my parent is anxious and scared and stressed, I should be anxious and scared and stressed, right? So it's not that we don't want to model for our kids the human side of things. It's okay for them to see that we're worried. It's okay for them to see that we're stressed. It's okay for them to see us crying. But how much do we show them? How many conversations do we have in front of them? How much do we preserve them? did we sit down in the last week to just talk about random things? How was school? Do you want to study your science test with me? Do you want to play a game of cards? Our heart is not there. But depending on the age they're at, they need that. My kids have told me, Mom, can we turn off the news? They're telling me, I can't take this anymore. They're watching their stuff. They're doing their homework. They're going to play soccer with their friends outside. That's good. They need normalcy, and we need normalcy. I only started feeling a little bit better when I forced myself to go back to work on Wednesday. So I thought on Tuesday I had a full day of work, and I said, oh, I'm going to go to work. Impossible for me to work on Tuesday. Impossible. And I said on Wednesday, I didn't want to work. I didn't want to hear about people's problems. I felt I had enough of my own. So the first, in all honesty, first few sessions, I had to work really hard to focus and concentrate and process what they were telling me. And then it was a distraction. It was a temporary distraction. And we have survival guilt because we are going through trauma right now. How can I be here and behave as if nothing do my work, go to the gym, go for a walk, when my brothers and sisters, A, were massacred, 2, are going to the front and fighting for us, and suffering right now, and I'm going to go about my business? We're angry about seeing people going about their business as if nothing. We are traumatized, and when we are traumatized and we survive, we have survivor guilt, right? But as we said here, and I think that 4-minute video is the best video we could have started with, is that we have a commandment to also be happy at certain moments. So I know every single girlfriend of mine, I have a group of 10 girlfriends, we all said, okay, say it, it's Shabbat, it's time to be happy. It's time to bring joy in the house. There's moments for each thing. We have to have compartments. Compartment for grieving, compartment for working, compartment for joy. This morning, while I was talking, the daughter of the woman, Maddie Benon, that was organizing the talk, she came in with her baby. And I said, this is it. This is where you can find your joy. A little baby smiling at us. She came in, she was smiling. I said, we have to grab and grab at every opportunity where we can have joy in these moments, because otherwise we're going to be depressed. We can't wallow only in the ugliness, or else they win, right? We have to find light in the darkness. This is exactly what it says, So I think at some point we can only do those things if and only if we consciously choose to. Like every change we make as human beings, every change we recommend in therapy, it's a conscious turn off automatic pilot mode. The brain is saying, oh, be stressed, be anxious, be scared, be down. And we have to consciously make a choice to decide to do something different, to not be overpowered by that. Or else we're all going to be depressed. And what good are we going to be? The best example I can give you is the videos we're seeing right now of the soldiers. How amazing are they? They're dancing, they're singing, they're telling us, don't worry. They're the ones going to fight, and they're telling us, don't worry, and they're dancing and singing. It's a perfect example of the conscious decision not to let ourselves go down. Okay? Now, I have one more thing I want to say before I open it up to potential questions. It's if your child is being bullied or being targeted at school, because that's, I think, what triggered this get-together tonight. I want to, look, kids are not supposed to be standing up for themselves. Okay? Kids can have the best self-confidence in the world if they're being targeted. Like us, if we're being targeted in the workplace or in society, they will feel scared and powerless, okay? we, of course, have to build their self-confidence and their self-esteem and their pride in who they are and their pride at being Jewish, but they're also little humans, and it's our job as adults to protect them. So home has to be a safe space where they can come and tell us what's going on. Don't force kids to speak. You're going to see maybe behaviors, changes in behaviors, outbursts of anger. Maybe something's going on. And you can encourage conversation, but don't push them to talk, because generally we get defensive because it's hard to talk about, or we're scared to go in that emotion. We just want to forget or escape. Okay. But when they do want to talk, be aware, depending on the age group, they might not have the words. They might not even know how to identify what they're feeling. Okay? So sometimes we could get them to talk through play, through coloring, depending on the age group, of course. Younger children, preschool or beginning of elementary school, play, coloring. Let them tell you the story of what they're coloring. It'll give you an idea of where they're at. And listen, hear them out. Give them the space when they're ready to talk. Once they tell you what's going on, Mommy, I'm scared, Mommy, I'm anxious, first normalize, like I did for you, right? Normalize, validate. I understand, I'm scared too. It's normal to be scared. And then tell them they're safe with you. And that is a very important piece. At home, they're safe with you. But at school, who are they safe with? You need to take it upon yourself to go speak to the school for them. Nobody else can do that. Don't be afraid. Now, this is the part where you have to be courageous and go to the school and say, listen, this is what's going on. If my child is being exposed to this during the school day, first of all, they have to act and educate the kids in the school. But secondly, your kid has to have safe people, know where to turn if they need during the day to go to someone. So there's concrete actions that we can take, and we must, what's the word in English? Exiger. Demand from the school concrete actions. We have a right to ask that for our kids. If they were being bullied for any other reason, we would demand it. So why not this one, right? So I'm going to stop there. I'd rather just open it up if you have questions around anxiety or with the grief, because there's grief also that we didn't talk about. And I'll let you guys ask questions if you have them, and maybe that'll open up some discussion. Yes. Hi. Oui, je parle français.
Je me sens assez à l'aise de partager avec ma communauté. C'est quelque chose de très très personnel et de très triste quand j'ai demandé sur le temps. Je divorce de quelqu'un avec qui j'ai eu 2 enfants, donc ça me fait 3. Et pour la première fois, j'ai eu une conversation avec mon fils de 15 ans tout à l'heure, juste avant d'arriver. C'est lui qui m'a fait féliciter ma fille que je suis ici. Choquée. Comment aider mon fils. J'ai besoin d'aide, moi, pour aider mon fils, c'est moi l'adulte. Et je suis vraiment contente d'être là, mais en même temps, il y a trop de choses à faire. Le papa, je pense pas que c'est quelqu'un qui a incité quelque chose, mais il y a tout l'entourage qui vient à côté. Il est un peu négatif et il veut rien entendre de moi parce que on est des monstres qui font du mal aux petits dans son côté. Alors, j'ai vraiment besoin d'aide de comment on peut le rapprocher sans perdre la relation avec son enfant, sans perdre la crédibilité, comment on peut rapprocher cette...
Donc, juste pour clarifier, votre enfant pense qu'on est des monstres qui faisons du mal aux pauvres Palestiniens, c'est bien ça?
En gros, on l'a cherché.
On l'a cherché.
On l'a cherché depuis tant d'années qu'on oppresse. Puis, même s'ils reconnaissent l'atrocité des événements, il y a tellement de travail qui est fait sur les réseaux sociaux.
Oui.
Et à 15 ans, je peux plus contrôler l'environnement médiatique d'un enfant, ça c'est sûr, il va s'informer par lui-même. Mais je peux essayer de lui transmettre le minimum et je ne sais même pas par quoi commencer parce que j'étais en choc.
Ouais.
Et il m'a clairement dit, je ne veux même plus parler avec toi parce que tu n'es pas subjective.
Ouais. Bon, il y a plein de choses que je pourrais dire au niveau analyse. Il y a beaucoup de, on va dire, c'est un oignon avec beaucoup de parties qu'il faut décortiquer. Parce qu'on a quand même, bon, je ne vais pas rentrer dans les détails, c'est personnel, ok? Mais je ne pense pas que vous êtes la bonne personne. Pour être franche, il ne va pas le recevoir bien de vous. Parce que c'est pas juste ça, vous êtes émotive. Vous êtes émotionnel. Si quelqu'un lui parlait des faits, s'il était là ce soir et qu'il avait entendu Harry et qu'il avait entendu Rabbi Moshe, des gens qui ont parlé de manière calme, posée, factuelle, qui sont émotionnellement divorcés de lui, en quelque sorte, il aurait pu les entendre. C'est tout le but de la thérapie. Combien de fois j'ai des couples qui viennent et ils me disent « Ah, mais je lui dis ça tout le temps, il ne m'écoute pas. Pourquoi il vous écoute à vous? Parce que je ne suis pas dans leur histoire. Okay? Vous faites partie de son histoire. Une grande partie de son histoire, pas de son petite. Donc, il peut pas entendre. Et en plus, c'est un adolescent. Okay? Donc, d'abord, il y a un manque d'information. Et c'est pas vous, juste pour être clair, j'ai dit à Sterna, juste avant de commencer, que j'étais à U2M ce matin, et j'ai eu les mêmes questions de certains élèves d'université qui m'ont dit, ouais, mais vous pensez pas quand même qu'Israël, ils ont coupé l'eau, il manque d'informations. Okay? Donc là, notre communauté, on est en train de se réveiller, qu'on a beau enseigner, même si c'était dans une école juive, parce que même mon fils, il m'a dit, mais maman, qu'est-ce qui va arriver si Égypte ne les laisse pas sortir, et si Hamas les coince ici, et on va les attaquer, on va tuer 1 million de Palestiniens?
Alors, in a way, it's normal that he reacts.
It's good, it's smart. It means he's critically thinking about what's going on. On veut pas, je vais répéter en français, on veut pas un enfant qui pose jamais de questions. Parce que sinon, ça fermente à l'intérieur, on sait même pas qui se pose ces questions, et il va aller chercher ses réponses sur les réseaux sociaux, chez des amis non juifs, chez des pro-palestiniens. Pourquoi pas? Donc vous devriez être heureuse qu'il vous apporte ces questions. Parce que ça vous donne, vous, l'opportunité de chercher les personnes avec qui il peut s'entretenir pour éclaircir les choses. Il est vrai que même moi, hier, je voyais des enfants palestiniens blessés et ça me fait mal au cœur. Ça veut dire que votre enfant, il est humain et qu'il a un cœur. Donc c'est pas une mauvaise chose. Mais il faut trouver les bonnes personnes, les personnes ressources, pour l'aider à comprendre, quand il sera ouvert à comprendre. Parce qu'on ne peut pas pousser les enfants à comprendre.
Non, il est vraiment ouvert.
Okay.
Il m'a même invité à voir un film qu'il a vu qui s'appelle Inch'Allah, produit par un Québécois, que je n'ai pas vu, je ne sais pas si certains l'ont vu ici. Et il m'a dit, je vais tout comprendre. Alors, il m'a dit, vas-y, montre-moi de ton côté pourquoi je devrais avoir peur de penser comme ça. Mais il est tellement profond que je ne sais même pas par où commencer.
On n'est jamais trop profond. On n'est jamais trop profond. J'expliquais aujourd'hui que les gens qui viennent en thérapie, qui ont des anxiétés, de la dépression, c'est très profond. C'est la manière qu'ils perçoivent les choses, c'est la manière qu'ils ont toujours tout vu. C'est les lunettes qu'ils ont portées toute leur vie, avec cette ordonnance, cette prescription qui est unique à eux, avec toutes leurs expériences et toutes les personnes qu'ils ont rencontrées, tout ce qu'ils ont appris. Et ils viennent chez moi, ils me disent « Ah, je suis anxieux » ou « J'ai une mauvaise estime de moi-même » ou « Aidez-moi ». Est-ce que vous pensez que ça me prend une séance? Je dois changer, je dois créer des nouveaux circuits neuronaux, apprendre à réfléchir, à percevoir les choses d'une autre perspective. Ça me prend beaucoup de temps. Ça va être pareil avec votre fils, mais c'est pas impossible. Alors là, je parle d'espoir. Okay? Rien n'est impossible. On peut toujours changer quelqu'un. Okay? En donnant, dans les bonnes circonstances, évidemment. Il faut qu'il soit outillé, il faut qu'il soit guidé, il faut qu'il soit pris en charge.
Les deux parents ne pensent pas la même chose, il y a un conflit, que l'enfant, à un moment donné, il choisit un camp, malheureusement.
Ouais.
Ça ne veut pas dire que l'autre, il est juste contre moi. Donc, peu importe ce que je vais défendre, il va être contre moi, le parent.
Ouais.
Donc, après, c'est ce côté-là aussi qui est très dur, mais ça, je vais chercher.
C'est la partie de l'oignon que je ne voulais pas adresser ici, parce que, je veux dire, je pense que c'est à la fin de la journée, en anglais, il y a une expression qui dit on attire plus d'abeilles avec du miel qu'avec du vinaigre. Okay? Donc, je vous encourage à ne pas utiliser le vinaigre à tout prix. Beaucoup d'amour, beaucoup de compréhension, beaucoup de validation, beaucoup de je comprends. Moi aussi, si j'étais toi, je penserais exactement la même chose. Tu as raison. Viens, on va trouver les réponses ensemble. Moi, je ne suis pas équipée. N'ayez pas peur de dire ça. Ok? Viens, on y va, toi et moi. Ou tu veux y aller seul, je préfère aller seul, je respecte. Mais si je sais que tu es intelligent, donc tu as entendu une partie, on va aller chercher l'autre partie qui te manque, et c'est à toi de décider, parce que le libre arbitre, il est très important. Quand on force les gens à croire, ils nous repoussent. C'est à toi, c'est ta décision. Tu as 15 ans, tu vas avoir 18 ans bientôt, tu vas être un homme, c'est ta vie. Il ne faut pas que la conséquence, elle ait l'air d'être plus grosse sur vous que sur lui. Il faut qu'elle soit plus grosse sur lui que sur vous. C'est à toi de décider. Et peut-être que ça va lui prendre jusqu'à 25 ans pour réveiller ce qu'il a en lui. Soyons de retour à pas psychologue, on est juif. Il a une âme juive, votre fils. Vous êtes juif, il est juif. Je m'en fous, son père, il est de n'importe où. Et cette âme juive, elle peut être réveillée. Donc, mais il faut que vous soyez patiente. Il ne faut pas le brusquer, il ne faut pas le pousser. Il va se relever, il va se rebeller. Laissez-le faire son chemin. C'est ça son travail ici. Donc, bon, je pourrais vous parler pendant des heures et des heures, mais je vais m'arrêter là sur votre question personnelle. Oui, yes.
An issue that I'd like just to point or to suggest, maybe you want to address,
Yeah, sure.
and that is that there is an underlying assumption, it seems to me, that we are all in great shape. We just have to look after others who are not in great shape. In my mind, I think that many of us subscribe to PTSD, and whether it's on individual level, communities, country, world.
Yes.
Do you want to address it?
So you're saying, how can I take care of others if I'm not doing well myself?
What are your recommendations if we observe in ourselves or others some symptoms of PTSD?
Okay, look, PTSD is a word that has been used lightly, okay?
Yeah.
There are criteria and diagnostic criteria. What are they? Just to give you an idea, because it's a very good question, and thank you for asking it. It's important to be able to recognize. So, first of all, we are now feeling like, so PTSD is general, the first criteria is we feel that we have been exposed to a danger of death, or we have witnessed a danger of death. So obviously we all meet that criteria, okay? Second criteria is that now we have distress, many symptoms, and then we're going to go into the symptoms. Nightmares, recurrent nightmares, triggers. So I was just telling my husband the other day that the word, what was it? The word proportionate has become a trigger for me. I heard the word proportionate, I got anxious. Why? It's not a proportionate response. It's little things that now trigger me in my everyday life. Even my kids will say something and all of a sudden we are hypervigilant. So we have an easy startled response. You know, my daughter told me today, her friend's dad was building something downstairs, and in her mind there were Palestinians knocking at the door. Okay? We no longer feel that the world is predictable. It's not predictable anymore. It's not safe and it's not predictable. Danger is looming everywhere and anywhere and will fall on us at any moment. Okay? Emotional numbness. Maybe many of you have, I felt it this week, where I was like, I can't connect to, usually, for example, with my daughter, I always have a lot of fun, you know? And this week, I was disconnected from my kids, which I'm never disconnected from my kids. So yes, there are signs. If it's many of those, and you are in distress, obviously anxiety is one of them. If you have many of those symptoms, I highly recommend you consult a specialist, an expert, because, you know, you need your mask on. Somebody needs to put the mask on for you, when you're drowning, You can't do it on your own. We can do things to prevent PTSD, but I want to say something about PTSD. That's very important. In the time that we're in right now, it's normal to have all these symptoms. You have to have these symptoms consistently for at least 2 weeks before we can say you have PTSD. We're very resilient as human beings. What you're doing tonight is a sign of resilience. You're reaching out for a tool that fills your resilience. Okay? So normally, in normal circumstances, if it was one event, like if only that had happened, maybe it would not take us 2 weeks, but we would start processing. Already this week, about that event, it's a little less than last week, okay? The problem is now, and this is what we saw with COVID, is when it's many months, weeks, months of exposure. That's why I was telling you, protect yourself, because or else you will have PTSD. So we don't know what's coming with this war. We don't know how big it's about to be. We don't know how many numbers we're going to see, how many more pictures, how many more assaults, microaggressions, macroaggressions we're going to be exposed to. So if you feel like you're in a level of distress where you're no longer able to function normally, do your work, do your daily chores, take a shower, have normal discussions with people. If you can't function normally anymore, then get help. That's the best advice I can give you. Yes?
I want to talk about the best advice that I ever got from a therapist.
Yes, tell me.
I don't want to get into why, but I suffered from PTSD for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a therapist come to my home because I couldn't leave my home. Why couldn't I leave my home? Because the event that triggered me happened outside my home. Mm-hmm. So I said to her, outside is dangerous. I can't go out there. And she says to me, so you're safe in here? And I said, yeah. And she says, I have a story for you. My son fell down in the kitchen, smashed his head open. Inside is dangerous for me. And that opened an entire conversation about how you can never really truly be safe. So you have to decide what you can live with, and you have to live your life. And that is a really good microcosm for what's going on in the world. That's why the soldiers are joking and laughing and telling us that we're going to be okay. Because they know, but you have to live your life. You can't stay cloistered inside, because inside is dangerous too.
Of course. I'll tell you a personal story. We had, how many years ago now? In 2013, 10 years ago in December it will be, a car crashed into our house.
Wow.
And my husband, a minute before, was in a spot where, anyways, we also went through PTSD, all of us, all 5 of us. So there is no safe space, but that's, it's different right now because we're in it. So it's too early to talk about PTSD.
I think that point is challenging your thinking.
Yes,
right?
of
This
course.
is dangerous. Are the Palestinians really going to come to our front door and kill us?
We don't know, though.
We don't know.
The
but
problem.
I tell my kid, what is the chance that that's going to happen?
Well, what is the chance that I'm going to cross the street tomorrow and get hit by a car and die? But that's how we treat everyday life anxiety. Like when people come to anxiety, every day that we live, we take risks.
Yeah.
Right? We have to evaluate level of risk. It's just that right now, it feels very big, the risk. It feels very real. When you see in Montreal today, that there were thousands of people who hate Jews outside, it feels very real. So what we want to do right now is just manage that, right? One day at a time. So you guys came here. You're managing very well. Okay? I want to point out your resilience here and say you're doing really well because you're here. Some people didn't come tonight. I have to send my son into, well, I won't say it on camera, but I have to send my son to a big event. And I'm nervous, but I'm trying to do what she's saying is, how much are we going to let them stop us from living, right? My husband
That's
said,
where faith comes
c'est
in.
ça.
Hashem is watching and protecting us.
Exactly. You know, when our day comes, it's because God decided. You know, we don't want to put ourselves on purpose in danger, but we also have to cost benefit. You know, my son actually woke up yesterday morning. He wanted to go to synagogue, and my husband said, "Let's go." And I was like, "Okay, go." You know, what are we gonna do? Not stop living? So, but I mean, it is normal to feel anxious right now.
Any other question? We'll take one. Marie? I think it's the end of
I'm
it.
here about 5 years and I feel like I'm a cheater. I cheat like my country, I cheat Israel, I cheat my husband. That's what I feel inside. And
You're here from
I
Israel.
don't know how to deal with it.
Because you left
I
Israel?
can't help there. I can now be at army and I don't do Elohim, I don't do nothing and I blame myself and it's very hard to do.
Okay. So ask yourself what you could do from here.
I do a lot, but
Right.
I think with me it's not enough.
Well, because if you were there, you're comparing what you would have done
Yes,
there,
Yeah.
while living there, to what you're doing now.
yes. And I have a life here and they don't have a life there.
They do. You know,
I'm
look,
from Ashkelon, they don't.
you're from Ashkelon. My parents are from Ashkelon. My parents live in
Yeah,
Ashkelon.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I feel like I cheat my husband like this.
Yeah, listen, that's it's totally normal that you feel that. I think that's the survivor guilt. It's like a version of the survivor guilt, you know? But I was telling the kids today, they kept saying, yeah, but, well, it's not much. It's nothing much. They kept saying, it's nothing much, but I did this. And I kept saying, every little action matters. It's not nothing much. Everything is important. So I don't know what you're doing. Are you volunteering? Are you sending money? Are you, whatever you're doing, don't minimize the impact. Maybe you're helping them morally by being on the phone and being there for them. Yes, you're not on the front line, you're not packaging, but here we're packaging and we're sending to the army. We're doing things they're doing there. You could do them here, you know, but your guilt might come from somewhere else.
We actually have something practical that you can do. My husband's gonna have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we could talk some more if you want, but I think there's something deeper going on.
I'm not too sure how to put this. It's a bit of a personal experience. It'll take a minute to say so. A few days ago, I felt, how can I be an advocate for Israel? You know, there's a lot we can do. The first thing that came to my heart was put up Israeli flag outside my house. And I've done that. But I was told by people who care for me, what are you doing? You're crazy. You're putting yourself at risk. I'd like the opinion of the people here after you give us yours. For me, it was comforting. It was being an advocate, and I felt good about myself to do that. Is it selfish? Is it trying to overcome the survival guilt?
It's so funny because a young girl this morning asked me the same thing. She said that her family went through a lot of trauma and that they have told her absolutely not to advocate in any shape at all, because if something happened, they would not be able to handle it. And she said, I really want to do it. I really want to stand up for Israel by whatever, posting or whatever. And I told her that, and she's young, I think she must be like 21. And I said, there comes a time in life where we have to stop seeking people's approval of doing what's right for us. You know what I mean? Like, I thought of putting up the flag in front of my house, and I said, no, I don't want to put my kids in a situation they're already stressed. Our dog has a collar with the Israeli flag, and my daughter told me, Mom, maybe we should put the old collar. What if someone sees him and wants to kill him? So I saw her anxiety, and that's what stopped me. But what didn't affect them? I posted so much. I advocated so much this week. I didn't care what anyone said. It doesn't matter. Because I knew it didn't touch that piece that I need to protect. So we have to, we can say to our loved ones, I understand that it scares you, but this is something that's important to me. And they have to respect it. But each one has to find their comfort zone.
Okay, we'll take one last one because it's a little late.
Yeah. No, I mean, I find quite interesting that, sorry, I'm not going to but you mentioned something about like living each day like as if, I mean, not as if it's your last, not how you said it, but you said something and it stuck to me. Because when you try to project yourself in the future, that's when anxiety
absolutely
comes.
Yes.
I mean, you just mentioned we don't know how the conflict is going to evolve. That's projecting
absolutely
the future, and I just saw in your nonverbal that it was like, oh,
live in the moment,
like
right now.
I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling.
Yeah, the anticipatory anxiety
right.
is what we call it.
Yeah.
It's predicting the future, and it's a negative prediction, and we live in that perception of the future that is negative, and our brain doesn't make the difference between reality and
right.
a thought. If I think it must be true, so trigger the neurotransmitters of anxiety, the fight or flight response, and now you get symptoms of anxiety, except you have nothing to do with them because the danger is not here. Right? So that's why we teach people to live in the moment. We have enough on our plate in the moment to deal with, not to add the horror movies that are inventions that may not happen. Look, I was nervous about the ground incursion by Israel. I was like, oh my God, I hope a lot of soldiers aren't going to die. I was worried about our soldiers. I could have been worried for the last 4 days. They still haven't gone, So what's the point of worrying? When it'll happen, whatever happens, if I have an emotion about that, I'll deal with it when it comes. One at a time, or else it's overwhelming. Good? Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Mrs. Rachel Toledano. I think in general, we have so much, we spend so much time in life. Sometimes we waste our time. And I always say that if you go to an event and there is one sentence, one idea that we learn from it, that's already enough. It's worth it, the whole event. But I think really tonight, everything, every sentence, every phrase that I heard, it was really relevant, and I think Sterna just didn't have the courage to send me to therapy, so she organized our event. So thank you very much Okay, so I just want to say, so again, thank you very much, Harry Bolner. Thank you very much, Rabbi knew that left already, Rachel Toledano. We have a very big chance here in Chabad Sarchon, and I'm announcing that just now. I have a friend, big friend, that his name is Gili Spindler. He lives in Ofakim. If you check on the map, Ofakim, it's how many miles from Gaza?
Couple of miles.
Couple of miles, very close. This is one of the cities that were touched directly by the terrorists. There was hostages. He woke up at 6:30, hearing all the bombing and the thing, and we created today a partnership with the Chabad Sarchon that we're going to try to raise as much money as we can. Not only Chabad Sashor, but we are like the main representative. And all the money, obviously, all the money will be sent to him. He's a rabbi in Ofakim, and he's in charge not only of the city and the victims. There is, I think, I don't know exactly the number, but 20 or 30 people that were killed in this city. And you can imagine the families, the houses burned, and so much catastrophe that happened there. And besides that, this city right now has so many soldiers that are getting ready to, it's very close. So they're taking care of all the soldiers. Like Rabbi Moshe said, the soldier wants tzitzit. They ask for tzitzit. They don't put tzitzit usually, but some, I don't know. But they want tzitzit to go to war. And he's bringing thousands of tzitzit. Tefillin, Chitat is a book with Chumash, and food, and so much they do for the city, for the families, for the soldier. And I felt, first of all, I know him personally because he lived in Montreal before, and I felt that would be a very good thing to do, to partnership with them, to create a kind of a sort of a campaign, and bringing them at least whatever we can do here. We are very far, but that's something we can do, so we got to do it. Besides that, I got many people asking me, do you have a place in Israel we can send money? Personally, I don't like to send to people links if I don't know exactly who's behind the campaign. You can go online, find hundreds of campaigns, but if I don't know exactly what's behind, I don't go to share. And this one, I'm behind. Gili Spindler is behind. I can guarantee you every dollar will go there, and I can send by WhatsApp. I got to send by WhatsApp after the event, but I can tell you now the link is charity.com. Charity with a D. This is charity.com/Ofakim. Ofakim, Ofakim, Ofakim. Really simple. charity.com/Ofakim.
And we'll share it.
And we're going to share also the link. You can see over there, it's Chabad Sashor, so the money, the tax receipt will be sent from us. And we found a way, obviously, to send the money to Israel as soon as possible. So, thank you very much, everyone, for coming. And Am Israel Chai!
I just want to say, I came to this event anxious, literally anxious, I don't have to explain why. And I'm feeling joyful, so thank you to our speakers, and thank you guys for coming and uniting together tonight.
Thank you everyone online for following this event. I learned so much. It was beautiful. Wow, we have so many people. Amazing. I'm Israel Chai. You should stay strong. Thank you very much. And hopefully the next event will be for only good occasions.